Het-Heru, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasank Ma'a Keperu with a live video for you, first time on this channel. This is my new channel, Project Illuminated. And for those of you who don't realize, years ago, I started a channel called Project Illuminated to really illuminate the message that we are living in a matrix and that there's something going on that we don't understand. So this channel is a continuation of that, and we'll have primarily live videos. My other channel will have recorded videos, very in-depth videos. Now, if you have not already, please hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to my channel if it's your first time watching. Welcome. And share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. What I'd like to talk about real briefly, because I'm not going to make this a long video, is how the ruling elite controls the planet. And the reason why I'm kind of making this video and addressing this topic is I think a lot of people have not really received the message I've been sending out there. And I'm noticing that from the consultations I'm doing with oracle readings or the hypnosis sessions. They're asking very rudimentary questions. And it's puzzling to me because I'm like, wait a minute, you shouldn't be asking that question at this juncture in your career as an initiate. So that tells me that there's a type of disconnect going on to where they're not digesting the material. Hey, brother GK, how you doing? Thanks for joining. So it's perplexing to me how the message is not getting out there. And I think a lot of it has to do with the continued bombardment of social engineering that they're exposed to. Maybe what I'm saying obviously is resonating, but it's not sticking. And that is the issue. And I'm going to give you specific examples, case in points, to illustrate what I'm trying to say. Now, what we need to understand very, very clearly is that the planet has been taken over by the ruling elite. Now, when I say the ruling elite, that naming convention can be interchanged with the Cabal, the bankers, the Illuminati, what have you, because we don't really know what they call themselves, you know. But for the purposes of having a discussion, we can give them the name, the Cabal, you know, let's say, for example. But the truth of the matter is that there is a small percentage of individuals who are wealthy beyond measure who have taken control of the planet, all right? Now, you have many in the conspiracy theory arena who I think are very, very ignorant in the sense that they think that this control of the planet is governed by the reference documents, or I should say reference material of Aldous Huxley, A Brave New World, or George Orwell's The 1984. Although those works were interesting and gave us some insight as to a possible future outcome, they were way off point, okay? And if you really want to understand what is going on, the only way you can do that is by delving into the realm of sci-fi and of great works by people like John Carpenter, where he did a wonderful film called They Live. Films like George Lucas's Star Wars, where embedded in the story underneath the surface is the origin of human history. And it's trying, and these individuals are trying to let you know what is going on. And of course, then there's the Matrix. But they can't come out right and say, hey, this is the deal. So they have to use the medium of motion pictures or sci-fi to get the point across. And many pick up on that and they understand what is being said. Many others don't. They just think it's purely entertainment. So, like I said, I'm not gonna make this video long, but let me just get to the heart of the point so that you understand what's going on. Most people know that there is a small group of individuals who control the planet and that they are trillionaires or beyond that. They control the wealth and the resources of the planet. They're very much into Satanism and doing sacrificial rituals. Okay, we know that, right? But what we don't understand is because we've been fed this information, as I said before, by Aldous Huxley and George Orwell, that the coming dystopia is going to be about a military coup d'etat, a military state, where the planet will be depopulated and there'll be this new world order and that our rights will be taken away. That is not true. That is not how it's going to happen, and that is not how it has happened. So let me clear this up so that you clearly understand what's going on. The ruling elite, the cabal, has already won. They have won. The future that you're talking about, where mankind is enslaved, and that we have language like George Orwell was talking about, newspeak, where good is bad and bad is good, is here and now. And for those who are into the conspiracy theory, those people are idiots, because they are so steeped in their own racism that they're not able to conceive of the fact that this future world has already taken place for the majority of Native Americans and African Americans on the planet. Look at what has happened to North America. Look at what has happened to Africa, and you will see that George Orwell's future, 1984, has already come to pass. These groups, Native Americans, Africans, are the canary in the coal mine, and yet we still don't get it. When you have the genocide of an entire people, over 100 million here in North America, well, then you're talking about a brave new world. You're talking about Big Brother. It already exists. We have lost the war, and I'm talking about humanity. So let us stop talking about us headed toward this new world order. It exists in the here and now. Stop talking as if it's coming. This is why the majority of people who have the popular channels in the new age and conspiracy theory arena are some of the dumbest people alive. Because if you can't see what's going on around you, then you are beyond deaf, dumb, and blind. Now, let's get deeper. Let's go down the rabbit hole so you fully understand what I'm saying. The ancient cultures, such as Kemet, Africa, Atlantis, the great Mayan cultures, the great Chinese dynasties, were advanced cultures, both morally and technologically. But the space-time continuum has been interrupted, meaning there was a type of global catastrophe, whether it be a war, whether it be a natural thing, to where those civilizations were wiped out, and in their place, the ruling elite took control. And one of the first things that they did as a modus operandi was to wipe the memories, or to redefine history as those individuals were primitive. That there was a linear development, left brain, linear development, meaning that things go from very early stages to high advanced technology. That's not how it works. Things go in cycles. So you're thinking that, wow, we were once in caves and developed therefore from there to where we are now. That is not true. Those civilizations of antiquity were advanced civilization where we traveled the stars. And many in the conspiracy theory arena are now realizing that, but they're so steeped in their own racism, they stink of racism, that they are now doing the work of the cabal by rewriting it and saying, well, it was alien intervention. It was no alien intervention. What you're saying is that you have no faith in who we are, that we could have developed to such a high level of technology back then on our own that you have to attribute it to aliens coming in and messing with our DNA. Really? Please, really? Really? Can we be real? So we know that the space-time continuum was interrupted, and that this small group of occultists, let's make it clear, they were occultists. They knew metaphysical, they knew alchemy. They saw an opportunity and took control of the planet and rewrote history, told us that all those civilizations were primitive, they were pagan, and they began to put in place the major Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, as a means to mind control and further imprison the planet. And their watchdogs became the ministers, the priests, the popes, the popes and all that. Now, when they did that, it was very easy for them at that point, because they knew of the true origin and history of humanity. It was very easy at that point for them to enact their plan. Now, I need you to follow me here, because this really gets deep down the rabbit hole. You see, our ancestors were masters of the metaphysical. As I said before, they not only traveled to different planets, but they traveled interdimensionally using natural herbs and plants like DMT and ayahuasca to communicate with interdimensional beings and to further gather wisdom and knowledge from these beings. They also were able to access the zero-point energy field, which is the Akashic records, and bring down all types of knowledge. And we know this by Hermes Trismegistus and the Emerald Tablets, which tells us this. Their histories, our ancestors left this knowledge. So the ruling elite began to rewrite history. And one of the things they did was they went into ancient Kemet, Egypt, and they removed all information as far as the teachings of interdimensional travel and how the pyramids were built. Yes, our ancestors did leave that information, but the ruling elite removed it. Our ancestors were they were very detail-oriented when it came to documenting their history. Why would they leave that out about how they built the pyramids? Why would they leave that out? There would be no reason to leave that out. But it was removed. Now, for you to understand the degree of this and the enormity of this, you have to first take yourself out of the matrix and start to understand something totally different. You have to adapt a new paradigm of thinking. And I've said this before. Go back and watch a video I did called The Difference Between Monotheism and Polytheism, where I really get to the heart of the matter and talk about that there are two developments. There's a left brain and a right brain development by the two different civilizations, and that we're now polarized and trapped in left brain thinking. And with left brain thinking, it only deals with sensory input, the five senses. It doesn't deal with immaterial, metaphysical, abstract concepts and thoughts, which is why we cannot conceive of the idea of things like alchemy, the occult, interdimensional travel, astral projection, things like that. It's too far out for us to conceive. And that's an indication of how the Illuminati has won. Because you're already restricted in your thinking as to how the world works. You're not free, energetic thinkers. And the major school systems are examples of that, because they teach conformity. They do not teach accelerated learning, as the Russians are now pioneering. And accelerated learning comes directly out of trance state, meditation state, to access the right brain and the long-term memory, and to access the archetypes and symbolism and the Akashic records. This is why everything is left brain, to keep you from diving into that. Now, who are the progenitors of all this wisdom and knowledge? People of melanin complexion. So what did the ruling elite say? Well, we have to keep this information secret, so we'll covet it. Not only that, there is a possibility of it resurfacing, as in the story of Asar Set. Set killed his Set killed his brother, Asar. And what happened? Asar was resurrected. He rose again. Truth will rise again. So the Illuminati knew this. So they set out on a plan to eliminate the planet of melanin complexion people, because they were the first medicine men, medicine women, shaman and Shah women, which is why in George Lucas's Star Wars, what happened in Star Wars, the first thing that the Emperor did was eliminate all of the Jedis. That was his first directive. And if you don't know, George Lucas is an insider, an Illuminati insider. Let's go further. To do this, they had to create a thought virus, what we call a pendulum or ergogore. And I'm not going to delve deep into the ergogore or pendulums. Read Vadim Zeland's book, Transurfing. Read Michael Talbot's book, The Holographic Universe. They had to create this thought virus that would permeate the collective consciousness, as Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, called it, the collective consciousness of the planet, to where people would subscribe to it, meaning this thought virus was called racism, white supremacy. And because the thought virus is an intelligence, it's an energy that is intelligent. It has self-preservation in mind. It has the idea of growing and becoming stronger and getting new people to indoctrinate into it. So they created this false concept or idea called racism, to which the planet would self-check itself, meaning that the population of people would divide and fight among themselves. And as the ruling elite knows, that when you hoard resources and give some resources to others and deprive another set, you create infighting. And therefore they can sit back and watch these wars on the planet take place, and they can remain hidden behind the curtain, which is what the Wizard of Oz is really all about. Once they got the planet to turn against melanated people so they could eradicate them from the planet, so they could never create the cultures, the high cultures of the Chinese dynasties, the Nak people, or the great empires of Ethiopia. These high technology civilizations. So this concerted effort began to eliminate people of color off the planet. Now, here's where we get deep. What the ruling elite discovered, or the small group of people discovered, that there is no such thing as reality. It's all an illusion. It's Maya. And Maya is, if you understand the word, it means illusion, but it also can mean water. And water is the god Nun, or Nu. And the symbol of Nut, is waves. Look at the hieroglyphic. But those waves don't necessarily mean water, because it is analogous. It is a symbol for the electromagnetic field. And that electromagnetic field possesses what? Information. Information. What is that information? That information is the code of the matrix. It contains all the wisdom and knowledge of the universe. And that when you observe it and you look at that energy field, and you hold in your mind's eye a belief system, it then collapses into one of an infinite possible number of realities. So the ruling elite began to realize that if they can bombard the planet with a certain frequency, it would have such an effect that the people who are reality generated machines, because that's what you are, you create reality, the fourth dimensional experience, you would accept that belief, and then you would manifest the reality. Watch John Carpenter's They Live. What was the objective in the film? They had to get rid of that disc that was sending out a radio frequency that would hide the aliens. Now, I'm not talking about aliens here, but what I am talking about is that you are being bombarded with a frequency that is affecting your psyche to get you to manifest a fourth dimensional experience, one that is not in alignment with your wishes. And then when you understand this fundamental principle, then you understand that nothing is real, that everything that you see around you is the manifestation of somebody else's wishes, the ruling elite. And that at any one time, you can cut off that transmission and you can start to download new and revolutionary information, such as you are empowered, you are God man, God woman, you can manifest a different reality. But there is a catch to this, because it is the Ma'at principle, or the 100-monkey principle, and God put this in place as a safety mechanism, which is, the two or more agree, so shall it be. So there needs to be a collective group that reaches a certain tipping point for it to become a mass agreement, which is why we call this the MCA, the Mass Collective Agreement. We agree to have this experience. So we now unwittingly are all agreeing to have this experience that we see before us, because the Illuminati is basically putting out the frequency. We are accepting it into our psyche and manufacturing it into a fourth dimensional experience. And what is the goal of the ruling elite? Is to keep us trapped in 3D thinking, third dimensional thinking. So you have to understand 4D is three dimensions of space and one of time. 3D is an analogous term, meaning that you're trapped in the third dimension. You only are trapped on things of the physical, of sensory input. And if the ruling elite can keep you trapped in 3D, then you will forever reincarnate into this same existence. You will never ascend to fifth dimensional thinking, 5D. But I'm going further than I want to. What you need to know is that everything you see around you is an illusion. It's not real. We know from quantum mechanics that subatomic particles vibrate at a certain frequency. Because they vibrate, there's space. Because there's space, there's no solidity. So nothing is solid. But you give it that principle and idea of something being solid, because you accept the belief that it is. Now, the trick that we have to deal and contend with is, how do we reverse that effect? How do we cut off that connection? And how do we tune to a new frequency or a new channel where that we are empowered? It goes by our belief system. See, the ruling elite controls time and space. You must understand that. They control time and space. Again, they control time and space. They can make things be at a certain place at a certain time to benefit them. So you will not beat them through political empowerment, through economic empowerment, through military might or coup d'etat. You cannot beat them on that. Because they will then put out a frequency where the masses of the planet will just shift to another reality where all the arms or the armories belong to them, which they have. They would then, whatever you try, they would then put out a different frequency to where all the resources of the food and things of that nature suddenly disappear. And you have no access to that. You can't win that game. They have already put out a frequency where we shift to a reality where everything is left brain thinking, where most people don't believe in the occult and the supernatural. They've already done that. So how are you thinking you're going to fight them and win this battle? You're going to have to tune into your power. You're going to have to become a master magi. You're going to have to learn the occult. You're going to have to learn the ancient teachings of our ancestors, the African shaman. They were not primitive people that had bones in their noses and plates in their lips. They weren't that primitive. They were very advanced. But the Illuminati has to put out that propaganda to fool and deceive you. They were very advanced civilizations. What you learned in school was all a lie. This is why I do not subscribe to the education system. This is why I do not subscribe to nincompoops who run around saying, I'm going to open a school for black kids and we're going to teach them on our own. What are you going to teach them, you dumbass? What are you going to teach them? You're going to teach them the same things that have been taught in the education system, but put a black face on it. Duh. You're going to teach them the misinformation we've been taught, but put a black face on it. Duh. It's pig. It's a pig with lipsticks. It's window dressing. It means nothing. Model what you're doing after the Russians, who are pioneers into accelerated and super learning. They're accessing the Akashic records. They're teaching students to possess historical characters from history like Beethoven. So you have these kids coming along playing concerts, master concerts, who have never had a lesson in music in their lives. How do you explain that? You only explain it by doing the research as to quantum entanglement in the zero-point energy field. That's how you explain it. And if you don't understand about quantum entanglement, it talks about how you are essentially who you are is just consciousness. That's all you are, is consciousness. You have no beginning, you have no end, you will always be. You are beyond time and space. Therefore, consciousness has the principle of non-locality. What does that mean? You are not, you do not exist at any fixed point in time and space. You are everywhere. You are a multidimensional being. As you sit here watching me, you also exist in an infinite number of universes. But your Heru, your will, your focus is trapped in this experience, in this reality, because you have come here for a purpose. That is to help free the planet. That's why you're here. Had one of the gentlemen who was a follower of mine wrote me and said he's very upset because of Trump and he feels that we're getting a butt kick. I said, Trump is not your problem. Trump is not even in control. There's an evil behind Trump. And I said, if you want to get down to the reality of the situation, you agreed to have this experience for a reason. And that probably most likely is to come to the realization of your divine inner essence, because challenges in our lives force us to grow. So what I'm saying, my beloveds, is that you're dealing with something that's way beyond your understanding. But you can understand, you can get there. But it's going to take unconventional means. Stop thinking in the box. Get out of the box. Start looking at the things they don't want you to look at. There's a reason why ayahuasca and DMT is illegal. There's a reason why it's illegal. There's a reason why most of the medicine men and medicine women on the planet were using it to heal people, to cure them from depressions, to go and communicate with their past, their family that had passed on, their elders, their ancestors. And I don't want to get into the disrespect that we show to our ancestors, myself included. I could do better. So this is all I wanted to send across the airwaves, so that you understand that your efforts to vote for or not vote for Kamala Harris, these things are all distractions. These things are all distractions. Part of the mind control matrix. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It's not going to change anything. Because the reality is you don't need this government, the system of control. Because when you're in the initiation process and you get to a point of where you become a master magi, you will realize that you have access to Hootie's wisdom, God's wisdom and knowledge. And when you get to that level, you'll then realize how you've been played and manipulated. But until you get to that point, you've got a target on your back. They are looking at you. They will come after you. I'd rather go down fighting than just to submit. Submit to my own destruction. I will fight to the very end. You know, they train individuals, soldiers, that in combat, you always, when fighting, empty your clip. Never go down, never get taken out with a full clip in your gun. You exhaust that clip. You fight to the bitter end. But I'm not telling you to engage in a military conflict or a physical conflict, because you can't win that. What I'm trying to tell you is the only way you can win is to seek the advice of Het-Heru. As in the story of Asar and Set, Heru would battle Set, and it would always end in a stalemate. That meant that Heru lost. But there was one person who was so badass that not even Set would mess with him. In fact, Set stayed away from him. He was in the mountains, and that was Het-Heru. And then Heru got word of Het-Heru, and then went up there and sought counsel. And when he sat before Het-Heru, Het-Heru gave him the wisdom and knowledge to defeat Set. And then when he engaged in battle, he brought Haruka Hootie, who fought at Ben-Hutet, and he defeated Set. And he then became king of Upper and Lower Egypt. So what I am telling you is, if you think that you're going to defeat this system by the conventional means, you're wrong. You're going to have to tune into right brain thinking. You're going to have to sit at the feet of Het-Heru to gain wisdom and knowledge on how to deal with this matrix. Because if you don't, it will manipulate you and it will control you in ways you will not even be aware of. Because when they put those energy viruses or those thought viruses into the ether, and when you are actively downloading that information, you start to act in ways that are anti-life. We see it all the time. How many people are caught up in rap? How many people are Gordon Geckos from Wall Street? Greed is good. You got to understand how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I've not even scratched the surface on this, because there's knowledge that would just scare you. But I don't want to talk about that, because I want us to focus on light, on envisioning a future that's prosperous. Others may use scare tactics, but I don't want to do that. I want you to understand that your divine essence of who you are is God, and that you have the power of God, not in quantity, but in quality. And at any time you choose, you can start tuning into that power and create the reality that you want. And you can cut off that connection to the Cabal and start downloading from the divine Akashic records the things in the way you need to live. Turn off the TV. Turn off the propaganda. Start looking at alternative ways to live your life. And maybe we'll have some hope. So I want to thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button on this video, share it with family and friends. I also have some free ebooks you can download. And I want you all to think about getting involved in my reality manifestation program. It is a program that's ongoing every month, to where I am teaching how to manipulate the matrix, how to use the power within you. It's a wonderful program. The link is in the description box. So there's two things in this world I've always said. You need to learn magic, and you need to learn to make money. That's very important. With those two things, you be set. Life will be good. So this is Kasank Ma-Keperu, son of Tuti and Ma'at. My aunt is beautiful Het-Heru, Hathor. Till my next broadcast. Amun Ra.